Hello, welcome to episode 15 of the No Excuses podcast. My name is Anne and I live in Worcestershire, in the middle of England, with my husband and our dog. It's been about 2 weeks since I last podcast, and I did do a podcast earlier today, but when I listened to it back, I was very, very quiet and I kept mumbling. So to avoid being told off by my mother, I'm doing it again. And also, it's a bit later now. It's just gone 7 in the evening, so the light's slightly better probably. It's not as bright in here. How have you been? As I say, it's been about 2 weeks. But I've had plenty of contact with people. It's been really nice chatting to you that have been in touch, and I've got an email and I'm on Ravelry and Instagram, and all my contacts are down below, along with anything I talk about. I'll put links, and where I mention patterns, if there is an alternative to Ravelry where you can find the pattern, I always include that where I can find it. Just a quick mention about the malls. The spring mal is about to be in its last month. At the end of June it finishes, and that's anything that you can relate to spring. We haven't got hundreds and hundreds of entries. It's quite open. Some people have put several entries in. The more the merrier. You get one entry for each project you put in. So, but it's going to be a random generator, so it doesn't always work out that even if you put loads in, you win necessarily. And then so that's for the seasonal mal. And then if you've entered that, you get one entry into the overall seasonal mal, which will be drawn at the end of the year. And then from the 1st of July, we're going to be into summer. Hey. The other one is the stash or shelf mal. I have to say that very carefully. And that's more to do with using something you've had in stash, or a pattern that you've had for a while and you've got it off the shelf because it's been in a book, or you've had a leaflet or download and you've not used it, or it's in your Ravelry library, wherever. Something you've not used before, or something from stash. And I think that runs to the end of August. Yeah. So please join me. You can see a lot of debris behind me today, can't you? Because I want everybody to think where I can reach it, then I need to have a bit of a tidy up in here. I say that every day. Anyway, before we get on to the knitting, I just want to say a few words, and I'm sure that a lot of you know what I'm about to say, but I just want to send a heartfelt message of love out to Kaz of the Wee So and So podcast. A lot of you come here to watch me from Kaz. She kindly mentioned me when I started podcasting. So a lot of you will already know that after only what seems like a couple of weeks of retirement, Kaz's husband passed away just over a week ago. I think it was sudden. I've been in touch with Kaz. She messaged me last Sunday to let me know, and obviously replied, and I've also asked her if she doesn't mind me mentioning David on here. Now, I've been talking to Kaz for 3 years, it is now, not long after Kaz started her podcast, and we've swapped gifts, we've swapped letters and messages, and she's the sort of person you think you could just sit down and chat to if you met them in real life, and you'd wonder where the day was gone. And she had a lovely life with David. They were very happy, content. They had a good life together. Like she said, he was her soulmate, and in one of the messages said to me, you know, there's a hole there now, and that's not going to be filled. You know, if ever, really. It's just such a devastating thing to happen. Life can be very cruel. My memories of David, of course, are with him being on the road trips with Kaz, being part of the podcast. He was always very keen and wanted, you know, occasionally took part in the podcast. And also, he was a great model. We mustn't forget his modelling prowess. You know, waistcoats, jumpers, and the Gansey that Kath's not long finished. So, yes, David, you'll be remembered on here, and, you know, just send messages of love to Kaz. And she did say that she has felt a lot of support from the knitting community. Everybody's reaction has been so positive and supportive. So, best wishes to you, Kaz, and we'll be in touch. So let's get into the knitting now. I am wearing, of course you've seen it already, haven't you, my Ranunculus. I'll put some photographs in as well. One of my specialities, rubbishy photographs. As you know, I've been knitting this for a few weeks. I made a couple of mistakes on it. I had to go back. I don't know, I'm squinting. It's almost like I can't see out my own glasses. Maybe you're too close to me. That's even more mess, I'll show you. You can hear noise in the background. Tom's preparing our tea. So you might hear chopping and things. Yeah, sorry. Back to the Ranunculus. So I finished this a little while ago, a couple of weeks ago, but I haven't been able to wash and block it because the weather has been atrocious and not really got room inside to do that. And I'm really pleased with it. It's come out very, very light and airy because it's knit on such a loose gauge. I did mine on a size smaller needle because I do tend to knit a bit looser. Well, I used to. I don't know if I still do really, but I'm pleased with it. This has got long sleeves, as you can see, and I've also done it quite long. Now, my cast off on the bottom is, I don't know if it's a super stretchy one, because I did another one, and I could feel it. So you probably can't see this, but it's one of those where you do standard cast off, but you've got a yarn over, and then you sort of knit and bring those to the previous stitch and the yarn over together to cast that off at the same time. So you end up with what looks like little knots in between the stitches as you go. So it is quite a fluted, loose cast off, but I don't mind that. I'd rather that than it was too tight. And on the neck, the modification I made there was I went immediately to the number of stitches that you end up with after the cast on the pattern, where you know, almost where just before you start the yoke. I picked those stitches up after I'd finished, and then I did a few rows of rib, a couple of rows of stocking stitch, and then did an I-cord cast off. I think a 3-stitch I-cord cast off. So, and that's loose. It's not it just goes over my head, you know. So it's not, yeah, I'm pleased with it. It's nice. It does feel very comfortable to wear. The yarn is BFL and Gotland by Nellie and Eve in the light nettle colourway, and it is a 4-ply. So yeah, I'll put some photographs in, and when I podcast earlier, when I recorded earlier, It's getting a bit hot. It's slightly cooler now that the sun is over at the front of the house. So I feel a little bit more comfortable than I did earlier. So yeah, so that's my only finished item. I've not finished anything since this. But I have been working on a couple of things. I haven't done any sewing since I finished the bags for my tenor friends. And I'll talk a bit about our outing in a minute. I was staring at the screen. I can't see anything. My glasses must be dirty. But anyway, ignore me. Well, don't ignore me because you're watching me, but you know what I mean. Let's talk about my whips, shall we? This is, what's it called? It is called the Parrot Jumper. That's what Sal's named it. Sal in Idaho. And then Tom calls it my Fisher Price jumper. This is the Soldotna by Caitlin Hunter. And it's knitting DK. And you may recall that I wanted it longer. Now, that is where the armholes end, top down. That's where the armholes end. I took the whole of the colour work hem that I'd done because it was already longer than the pattern because it's designed to be a crop. And this had Lysol fleas in it, and I've took all that out. And because I didn't want to do all that colour work again, and I've got plenty of the yellow yarn, I'm just going round and round and round. But I am putting a few increases in just to make it very, very slightly A-line rather than straight. Now, I do this is my evening knitting. This is usually next to me when I'm watching telly in the evening. But I keep not picking it up, and then when I do, I probably only do 2 or 3 rounds a night. So it's growing very, very slowly. And I've got to wind another ball of yarn off. I bought loads of this, actually. When I bought 9 or 10 hanks of it. So the yarn that I've taken when I undid it to redo the body is all wibbly wobbly, as I said last time. It's all wiggly because it's been knit up and washed. So actually I don't know if I have washed it. I might not have done because I knitted it during, anyway. But so I don't want to use that yarn, so I'll get a new fresh ball. But while the weather's been really good for a change here, I must put the reskein that other yarn, the used yarn, and get it dried outside while the weather's good, because that would be really good. Note to self, I'm not very good with them. Remember what I should do. I do write a list, to-do list, and I don't look at it. I've just got some Diet Pepsi here. Pepsi Max, same thing. Right, my second whip is the Kuutar jumper by Sari Norlund by Sari Norlund. She is she's a knitwear designer. She's got several patterns on Ravelry, and I'm doing quite well. I've nearly finished the yoke. This is, there's the neck, which I did 2 centimetres shorter than they ask for. And I'll show you, and again, I'll take some photographs. But you can see it is quite a nice lace pattern. It is just like the Ranunculus. This is a BFL Gotland mix, and this is, although this is DK, whereas this is 4-ply. So it's lovely, lovely and soft, lovely. Yeah. I do think that the pattern on the lace would stand out a little bit better if the yarn was a bit crisper. It would have been a high twist. But no, I'm happy with it, and it's going to be lovely to wear. Not now during the summer, but if I can get it done, get it blocked. I wash all my woolies in the summer anyway, and I'm looking forward to finishing, wearing this one in the winter. I have put stitch markers in, unusually for me. I don't normally put stitch markers in, but I've been working off the chart, which I'll show you very briefly. It's a lot bigger than the one on the Poetra, which is the same designer, but I'm finding this far easier to work off, because even till fairly recently I would have chosen written instructions over charts any day, but I know that, you know, some people don't even do written instructions, so I'm working hard at the... Sorry, Tom's chopping bits off the Bramley apple tree, showing me. So I'm working hard, not hard, but, you know, I'm trying to learn. I'm trying to get to a stage where charts are more intuitive to me, rather than me having to concentrate really hard on them. But about 6 rounds ago, although this lace is easy in terms of it's a number of short repeats, I think I've got 29 repeats for my size. When one row gets much like the other, I found myself getting mixed up with what row I was on in my head. And normally I can read my lace very, very well. You know, I've had years of practice at it and I like knitting lace. But I went wrong a couple of times and I've had to rip it back because my brain just wouldn't allow me to sort out what I needed to do without undoing it all. I sat there, you know, unpicking, I don't know how many stitches on there at the moment, about 400 I think, because it's at its widest point just before you get to the armholes. So I put the stitch markers in to help me with the repeats, and it has worked. So I think I've got about 5 more rounds to do. And then Sari recommends that you put waste yarn, put it on waste yarn or cables, and try it on to make sure that the yoke is as long as you want it before you split for the armholes, which I will do. It's worth half an hour of my time to do that. What was I going to say? You know, when your mind goes blank all the time. I was going to say something else then about the pattern. No, not about the pattern. I don't know. Yes, I know what I was going to say. It puts me in a bit of a dilemma though, because then my daytime knitting, this, and my evening knitting are going to be the same. Going round and round and round with just a knit stitch, and that is going to drive me up the wall, because I need a bit more variety in my knitting than that for me to stick at it. And I think that's one reason why I'm not getting through the Soldotna as quickly as I thought I might. And I'm doing it last night and you have to keep turning it and everything. But I feel that for me it is better if I have some sort of pattern. So I'm wondering, I mean, they're both DK, so they should knit up reasonably quickly, but I'm wondering whether that, you know, I start under the project. We'll see. I've ordered some linen from Midwinter Yarns, which will be here next time I podcast, and I'll show you that. But I have a feeling that the t-shirt pattern I was going to use it with is top down and knitting around. So it'd be like jumping out of the frying pan into the fire for me. Although I could do that garter stitch and make it 1 round knit, 1 round purl. So we'll see. Or we could just start something completely different. I tell you what I might start, and that is, you know, I did that swatch of the mohair and the brown, the dusky pink and brown a few weeks ago. That's that lovely stripe. My mum said she'll have a cardigan out of that. I just need to find a V-neck pattern for just a standard cardigan, standard 4-ply cardigan, and then I'll put the stripes in myself. So I'm going to have a look around. There must be some classic patterns I can find, and I might even have one myself. Mum thought she had one, so if she had one and she can't see it, there's every chance it's in my box. I'll have a look. So I might do that, because then at least I'll be going backwards and forwards, because it'll be pieced, and I'll also have the added dimension of the different yarns and colours to keep me happy. I think it was Ruth. Did you say this, Ruth? That of Ruth Loves to Knit. By the way, Ruth, best wishes for your recovery. You're the sided operation now. And yeah, take it easy and sit and knit as much as you can. Well, I thought Ruth said the other day she was a process knitter. And I think I am, you know, because I can knit things and then I can put them away. And although I enjoy wearing them, you know, it's, for me, it's a lot about the knitting itself. About 75-25. I'm a bit of also a process buyer, or whatever that means. Anyway, so yes, I need to start something different, otherwise I'll just be knitting, and that will mean that I might just do nothing. So that's my Kuutar, and I'll put the links through to it. I'm sorry, I've got spare wool around me. Yesterday, we've had terrible weather here, and yesterday I just sat in the garden and I read a James Oswald book, the number 3 in his Inspector McLean series, but I can't remember what the book was called. But I quite enjoyed it. It was about 500 pages long, and I finished it about 10 o'clock last night, because I did give it a rest at some point. I was sat in the garden because it was the first real warm day we've had for ages. I think we had a warm day back in April, but it was really nice yesterday, and I can feel myself nodding off, you know, when you can't keep your eyes open. So I just tipped my wheelchair back a little bit, and I did about sleep for about 20 minutes, you know, but it was nice. But it's horrible waking up again when you have a kip. I just hope I wasn't snoring so loud that the neighbours heard me. Oh dear. Tom says I snore loudly. Okay, I'm going to turn you off and turn you back on again, and we'll talk about what I've been buying, etc. See you in a minute. Hello, I'm back again. I think, judging by what Tom's doing at the moment, he's found a little bit of leaf curl or something on our Bramley. And our Bramley's not very old, about 5 years old, our Bramley tree. And of course, Bramley's are big fruits, big apples. And it was doing well. It had quite a bit of, quite a few flowers this year. We're expecting fruit this year for the first time. I think I said that last time. But he's chopped bits off and he's also given it a spray. So I hope it's going to be all right. It'd be nice, wouldn't it? We have got tons of rhubarb. Absolutely tons of rhubarb at the moment. To the point now, I had rhubarb and custard for breakfast. I think it was more healthy than having crumble. Okay, what have I been buying? It was Yorkshire Yarn Fest on Saturday, and Sophie from Botanical Yarns runs it, and it's a great show. Now, luckily, from my pocket, I was out. I went and visited my mum and dad, and we were going to do some sewing, but we didn't in the end. But I spent most of the afternoon there, so I missed a lot of the Instagram lives. They're about 10-15 minutes each. Excuse me, I'm making a mess on my table. Even more of a mess. Don't speak quietly, Anne. That's the trouble. That's why you've had to record again. But the theme this time was wisteria, and I loved some of the colours and some of the mini skein sets are so divine. I wanted some of them, and Tom said, "Buy yourself some nice yarn." I said, "No, I've got enough. It's all right. No, I'm not going to buy any." So, and I was very good. I resisted. But I bought this the other day. This is a blowing out slightly, but it is a 10 by 10 gram set of minis by, try and get this the right way up, Wild Rose Yarn on Etsy. Put the link below. I was looking, as you do. Well, Tom was asleep on the settee, and I was just having a quick flick on Etsy, you know. And this came up as recommended because I've bought minis recently. And I think I've got a set I haven't shown you actually from Fearless Yarns, because I showed you one. I don't think I showed you the other one. Anyway. And I went and had a look, and I thought, well, I haven't bought any yarn from this lady. And she had a set of 5 10-gram minis, free delivery. But when I kept looking at her site, her page, shop thing, honestly, I'm so useless at this. It was actually, it was a better price, better value for money to buy a set of 10 and pay for the delivery, because it was a large letter size anyway, I think. So the delivery wasn't too much. And these came really, really nicely packaged, flat, so it went through the letterbox with beautiful tissue paper and a card and a tea. And it had this band on it, which I've put the band on the whole of the 10 of them, just so I can show you a bit easier. So that's my first purchase. I'm going to put you on pause again because I've forgotten to get the other thing out of the drawer. I put it back after recording the first time. Welcome to part 3. Oh dear. Now this is a treat really, and an investment piece. But I have bought this. You may have seen it on Instagram if you follow Debbie of the Crimson Rabbit Burrow. Look at that. Isn't it gorgeous? Look at that glittery linen at the bottom. And the moths. I hate moths. They absolutely terrify me. Now, I would class those moths as baboulas. And it's a Brummy word. And there's a few different sort of variations on the theme of the word. But in our house, we call them baboulas. And they're fat, hairy moths that have great big jocular teeth and they bite you in the neck. I don't. It's just that I'm terrified of moths. More so than spiders. I asked Debbie, I've been looking at Debbie's interchangeable needles case for a while. And I love this material and I wanted to get it before it disappeared, in case it disappeared, you know. Gotta buy, fear of missing out and all that. So I wrote to her and I said, you know, I looked at the measurements of it and I thought, well, ideally, that sounds very nice, because she said about, you know, holding the tips inside it. I'll show you. Let me take out what I've got in here. Basically, you've got a fair size. You can see it's a fair size. And inside, you've got, on this side, there's a zip there. And you can see I've put my higher sharps into there. And then there's a lining. And then on the other side, slightly deeper of the same thing. You can just about see and it's lined as well with it's also got some of that glittery lining, which is lime. No, not lime, like a turquoisey and lime, I think. Absolutely gorgeous glittery linen. And I said to Debbie, ideally, would you be able to make it so that I could put a pouch in to hold my cables, because I've got quite a few. And she said, okay, what size are you thinking of? And I told her, and obviously it was far bigger than I probably needed, but if you have it too small, then you can't expand, can you? So Debbie said, leave it with me. And I knew she had a few commissions. She said she had a few commissions on the go, but you know, I was in no hurry for it. And she came up with this. And this is the same material. And it just folds over. Same material, no pockets or anything. Exactly what I wanted. And in here, I keep my notions and that are associated with my higher sharps. And I've got my cables. Now I keep my cables in these, if you have any higher, they come in these long, thin polythene bags. Whether it's the cables or the tips, they come in similar things. And what I had ages ago, and the way I used to store my tips and my cables, is I had all these little, can you see that says 16 inches? All these tags made by Yarnistry on Etsy. Actually, she's only just up the road from me, in the same town where my mum and dad live. So I've got those in there, so I can see it at a glance. I don't take any notice of the label that's on the front of here. At a glance, I can see what size cable is in there, and that is really useful to me. So I've got all of them, you know, because I've got 2 of some, and I also had little tags. What I used to do, in fact, I've got an example here. I'll show you. I also used to, I would put my tips. I had a bag that had like a zip at the top and a zip at the front. So I put my tips in a luggy band, a little like one of these loom band bar. Tiny little coloured elastic bands, and see that says 375. So I used to tie them up like that and put them in the front with the cables in the zip compartment at the back. And then if I was doing a project, say with a 16-inch cable, that's not the cable, a 16-inch cable and a 375 needle, I would take that off there, pop it into there, into the bag, and store them together while I was on that project. And that was my little method of keeping track of what I'd got and where and things. Sorry about the rustling, I'm trying to fight with a bag here. Now, I am really, really pleased with this, and I say it's a lovely investment piece because I will be using this forever. There is a slight but, and it's totally my fault, and that is I had some cheer goose for Chris' birthday, part of my birthday present, and I asked for the 4-inch tips instead of the 5-inch. And this side, the reason why this side isn't populated at the moment is because it's 5 inches. I put the 4-inch ones in there, they disappear, and so they're little, you know, it's very difficult to get them out. So I will buy some 5 inches and I will pop them in there when I do, because although I prefer the 4 inches, I'm quite happy with the 5 inches. You know, I can still knit with them okay, they're not too big for my hands. So there we go. So we've got the cables in there, and that goes into there in the middle nicely. Got plenty of room. Don't get in the way, I can still see my tips. And then also what I keep in there these are my Chegu twist shorties, tiny little needles. And say I can do, if people are interested, a review of the needles I have, because I have a bit of a collection and I do use them all. And then I've got a Chegu lace as well, and they all fit really, really well in my little custom made bag by Debbie of Crimson Rabbit Burrow. And on the tag is a little bunny rabbit. Can you see her? You can't quite see her face, but there you go. Yeah, I highly recommend her works. I love her coin purses. I love a lot of what Debbie does, and I've been watching her for a few years now. And her, I read her newsletter. I'd signed up to her newsletter, and some of the things she makes, you know, because people ask her, can you do this and can you do that? And she puts her mind to it, and she created some gorgeous bags for people. Now this, as I say, is an investment piece and a present to myself. But also it was partly bought with some money that was given to me in memory of one of my best friends who I lost, who passed away last year, nearly a year ago actually, end of June. And Deb was the first, I shared a room with her when I first went to school, and we've been very good friends ever since. And we used to go, as our friends were getting married and having kids and things, Deb and I were still single, and we used to go on holiday together, only in the UK, I went to Scotland with Deb. I made a list of, you know, all the places I'd been with her on holiday. We've had some great adventures, but her health wasn't too good for the last nearly 10 years. And so she passed away in the middle of COVID, so I hadn't been able to see her for a while. And her mum sent me some money at Christmas and said, please buy something that reminds you of Deb. So Deb, who used to knit as well, and her mum is a very prolific knitter. There you are. So yeah, I recommend it. Really, really, really love it. Okay. Let's sum up now, shall we? Because I'll be keeping you too long again. I am, well, where have I been? Since I last saw you, I have been to Coat Brasserie with my tenor girls. We had a nice evening. It was very well organised. Everybody was sat around the edge. There was no tables in the middle. All well spaced out. They put a ramp out for me at request. I'm not too keen on the food there, personally. I have got a bit of a limited palate in a way, and I should have had the chicken, but I thought, no, have the burger. You can't go wrong with a burger. I didn't eat all of it because I forgot to ask them if they could give me plain mayonnaise instead of truffle mayonnaise, and I really don't like the taste of truffle or really strong mushroom type of thing. So and it's sort of, you know, when you don't like something, it can seem stronger than it really is. But anyway, I ate about 3/4 of it, and all my 3 other friends all had something fishy, so the table stank when they all got like, oh, all that fish, and I've got beef. Anyway, but by not eating the whole of my burger meant I could have a slice of chocolate and salted caramel tart, which was divine. It's one of the nicest puds I've had in ages. It was one of those quite heavy chocolate tarts, not a huge piece, and it's one of those that, like, you take it off your spoon and then there's still more on your spoon. Well, that's how I ate it. Probably very uncouth, but you know, I'm paying for it, and nobody else objected and said I'd stop playing with your food. I wasn't really playing with my food, but yeah, I really enjoyed that. Now Jan and I sat opposite each other, and she had the same thing as me, and she's always a bit heavy, isn't it? And I went, no. I have an issue with chocolate, really do. So yes, really enjoyed that. And had some fizz as well, some pink fizz, which was nice. But my friend, one of my other friends there, she ended up with a pink fizz headache. So we won't be having that again, not to share anyway, in a hurry. Wave at Bertie, who's gone down the garden on his own, which doesn't often happen. And then, yeah, so it was nice, enjoyed it. Tom dropped me off and picked me up so I could have a drink, and I ended up having 3 small glasses of wine. Didn't go overboard. I can't take my drink, really. To be honest, once I'd finished the burger, when we were thinking about pud, dessert, and we were swapping our tenner lady presents that we would have done at Christmas, then in between courses, I thought, I'll have, 2 of the girls ordered another bottle of wine, and I said, I might have a brandy, and my friend Nick said, yeah, I might have something like that at the end. But you know, I was just too full by the end of it, so which was good, you know. I think if I'd had that last brandy, as much as I'd enjoyed it at the time, I don't necessarily like the after effects of the alcohol. It stays with me a bit too long these days, so I like the up bit, don't like the coming down bit. So, and then a week ago today, Amanda and Wendy, who I work with as well, Amanda more recently, but Wendy I've worked with for about 30, I've known for about 30 years. We went to Evesham Valley Park, still in Worcestershire. It's a garden centre that's expanded, and they've got coffee number 1 there, got a nice restaurant with the garden centre, and there's not outlets, but there's small stores there like Fat Face, Cotton Traders, Trespass, Pavers, and there's one, there's a Crafter's Companion there, which is quite a big store, and it's particularly good if you like papercraft. So if you're into cards or scrapbooking, then you know it is the place to go. They've got a little bit of fabric there for quilting, and I bought a little hexagon template. My dog's about to come running in, so you might hear him go bish bash bosh. That's all I bought from there. Oh, he's come to the window. Sorry, I'll get distracted. Sat in the window. But at the beginning, right by the disabled parking, there used to be something that was like barely bigger than a container, you know, that they put on ships, that was Cotswold Needlecraft. And they've now moved down a few spaces into a bigger unit. Hello, Bert. And they're much easier to get round. And they've got a good selection of yarns, a good selection of most crafts, I would say. Quite a bit of quilting fabric, diamond painting, felting, needle felting, loads and loads of different crafts in there. I even saw some Emma Ball tins by the checkout, but I didn't buy anything off them because, you know, if I want to buy any Emma Ball, I'll get them from Ange at Yarn and Yarns. But yeah, I was quite impressed. So if you're in the area, that's quite a nice little shop to go to now. Before, when it was in container, I could only get in the front door, and that was about it, unless they started moving things out and about for me. So it was rather nice to go in, but I didn't buy any yarn, obviously. I would say it was mainly the obviously commercial end. There was no indie dyed stuff there, but also Sirdar, Peyton's, James C. Brett King Cole, that sort of stuff, which, you know, I buy, I particularly when I'm either making a blanket or I'm doing things for children, babies, because yeah, washable and all that. But I wasn't in the market for any of that because I bought quite a bit last year that's suitable for young children, and I need to use that up before I buy any more. So I wasn't really in the market for anything, but it did allow me to try and have a feel, to have a feel of the Sirdar Solitaire, which is one of their new yarns, and it was nice. I don't know whether I'll buy it now I've felt it, because it might be a bit too soft for me, because I'm so hard on things. So we'll see. Anyway, well, that was nice to see them. We sat in coffee number 1 about an hour and a half catching up on things, because since the three of us last got together, Wendy had lost her mum and Amanda had lost her dad, and it was neither to COVID. You know, they're both a very good age. I think Wendy's mum was something like 96, but still sad, and it was nice to have a chat to them about it, you know, and talk it through, because you can't really do that on WhatsApp or text and things. So yeah, it was good to see them. Yeah. So I'm going to go now. I'm really pleased that I re-recorded this. I think my flow is a lot better, and hopefully I have spoken loud enough for Mom to hear. Have I, Mom? Yeah? I asked her yesterday, I saw her on Saturday, I said, would you like to come on the podcast one day, Mom? I said I could ask you questions and things. So we'll see, watch this space. As long as you don't say we look like 6 sisters, you know, because we're 20 years apart, you know. And I'm much, much younger than she is. Right, I'm going because we want to eat. It's probably near 8 o'clock now. I shall love you and leave you. I will see you sooner than before, I hope. Yeah, get in touch. You know, keep putting things in the mouths. Almost anything counts, you know, any excuse. And I'll see you very soon. All right then. Ta-da a bit. Bye.